Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on Gran Turismo Sport. We're back with the new week of daily races on GT Sport, and we're starting with daily race A at Laguna Seca in the Honda Fit. Now this is a hybrid car, although I don't think it actually gives that much power. It doesn't feel like it does anyway. So yeah, starting from the back of the grid, let's see how this race is. Now I'm actually quite surprised. This car is actually quite fun to drive. It's not very fast, but it's actually fairly enjoyable. So let's see, standing start, put the TC on just in case, and then straight back off. And now, starting the race, I decide I'm going to stay to the left-hand side. I was going to go down the right here, but I decided instead of doing that, we're just going to give P9 a little bump draft and keep ourselves on the inside line, because I think it's going to be better into turn one that we're nice and tight to that apex, because in general, people end up going really deep and pushing everyone wide. So we're staying nice and tight to the apex, you see, staying on the inside here. And we're going to keep it nice and tight all the way through the corner. You can see a lot of barging, a lot of contact going on, and we've managed to get ourselves up into P8. So yeah, definitely better to stay on the inside for that corner. And then again, as we come through, we try and keep it nice and tight, get on the power, and we managed to get the inside line, and we're going to jump up to P7. Now, one thing I will say about this race is you can see there's a lot of contact going on, and it will happen because this is a fairly slow car. So you're going to get a lot of risky dives, a lot of overtaking, a lot of contact, and yeah, it's actually quite fun though, I will say that. But I would say go into this race on your main account with, you know, it's going to be risky, so maybe go on your second account. As we're going for a move on the right hand side here, you can see we're actually pretty much a whole car's length ahead. We decided to give him space, however he just runs us quite far wide there, but we managed to keep it on the track. However, that's going to lose us a lot of momentum up the hill now. You can see we've gone from P7 all the way down from P9. So basically we were going to be in P6, but now we're back down in P9. And you can see so much contact going on in this race. As we come into the braking zone, we get hit from behind, pushed into the car in front. Luckily, because of the contact from getting hit, we're not going to get a corner cut penalty. So again, that has paid off there. And luckily, we're not going to get any sort of slowdown. But you can see up ahead, a lot of contact going on, contact behind us, and then one car going off there has been pushed off by P6. We've now got the run on the left-hand side, and we're going to go to the left-hand side of the yellow car. So into the braking zone, we brake pretty normal there. The car on the right turns into us there, and then I'm not sure what went on then. It looked like all kinds of lag contact. I think the yellow car actually hit the other car as well. A little bit of chaos, but we're up to P6, so we actually get a bit of an advantage out of that. And now into the braking zone. Again, braking on the 2 board, I think for this car, around about the 2 board on the right hand side, you can brake really late because you're basically going into these corners with no speed at all, because this car is very weak. Now you can see again, we've skipped ahead to lap 3 because it was fairly static from this point. You can see the same car behind us, a yellow car, and nothing really happened for a few laps until the final lap, that is. But you can see as we come through here, we can see P3 is not too far up ahead there. We've got a podium position not too far in the distance. Again, we're going to just make sure we hit the braking point pretty much at the top of the hill, get on the brakes, be cautious, take a little bit of the curb, and then early upshift to 4th gear and just accelerate all the way through here. It's a fairly simple corner, to be honest, in these cars. They're very easy to drive around here, and I think that's what makes it quite fun. I think if you have a race here with a group of very clean drivers, it's going to be really enjoyable. I think it's going to be great fun. However, if you've got someone who's just going to wipe everyone out, then it could turn into a slaughter and an absolute SR down. So yeah, just be cautious of this. As we see a bit of an optimistic move, but he makes that work up into P4. It was a bit aggressive, but he does get himself up to P4. We take advantage of that, going on the left-hand side and putting myself up to P5. So fast forward our way down the straight into the braking zone, and again, braking around that number 2 board, keeping it nice and tight to the apex. And now flat out, pretty much in 4th gear, now up into 4th gear. And this corner up here, just a little lift off the throttle. You can see, use the curb, throw it into the corner here, get onto the curb again, then back onto the throttle. And next corner, pretty much completely flat out in these cars. You see, you don't really need to lift at all. A little lift there just to get the rotation, and then back on the throttle. And again, into the next braking zone. I use the number 2 board on the right hand side. You can actually brake a little bit past it if you get the rotation right, but around the number 2 board, throw it in, get the car to the apex, on the throttle nice and early, and again, work your way up the hill. And again, see, we've got quite a nice run on the purple car in front of us. We have a little look up the left hand side, but we're not going to send that up there, even though, like, I think he might have been the one that sent it on us before, but it's a bit too risky. So staying behind him here and just using his slipstream into the braking zone. So as we come through here, look at the line that he takes in front of us. You're going to see he actually takes too much off the corner on the entry. So he's going to take way too much on the entry there. You can see he cuts the corner, he gets his right tyre over the green bit of Astro, and that is a sign he's going to get a penalty. You can see now he picks up a 1-second penalty on the final lap. Now what you're about to witness here is, I think it's disgusting what you're about to witness, but yeah, just keep an eye on P4 and what he does to P3 here. So we've got a really nice run on the corner, so I'm going to go to the left-hand side of the track. But look at his brakes. They do not come on. He just goes straight into the Spanish driver and completely wipes himself and the Spanish driver into the gravel. Like, ruins his own race, ruins the Spanish driver's race. I go up to P3, so for me, I benefit and I'm up into P3. But yeah, that was absolutely savage. Let's go back and see what he does there. So yeah, I was quite shocked when he did it, because I just don't get why he did it. There was nothing that I saw that the Spanish driver did to him that was dirty. Just into the braking zone, straight into it. Doesn't even hit the brakes. You can see he's completely flat out all the way into the corner and just completely takes him out. So yeah, not very nice driving, but that is the risk of Daily Race A this week. You are probably going to get that. If you, like I said, if you get a race with some clean drivers, it's going to be really fun, I think. But one bad driver could ruin it for everyone. So next up, we have Daily Race B at Sardegna B in reverse. I don't know why I thought this was St. Croix this week, but yeah, it's Sardegna B in reverse. Managed to set a lap time. I had about 4 laps before this race in the FT1. Managed to set a 19.3. Now, this car is actually pretty good, I think. It should be able to get into the 18s. And it's actually a lot easier than some of the other cars to drive. So make sure you give this car a go if you're struggling with the R8 or the Supra, because the FT1 is actually a really, really nice car around this combination. So yeah, starting from P2, we're in the slipstream to P1. Let's see if we can fight for the win in this race. So into this really tricky corner here. One thing I will say is, I never really liked this combination in the past, but now that I'm on the CSL DD, the new GT DD wheel, I don't know what it is. I feel like I quite like it. The car seems to handle better for me, so quite enjoyed this race, I have to say. So into the braking zone here, you want to brake just before the 50 board on the left-hand side there, and then let the car rotate down second gear, get on the throttle nice and early, and take the quite good exit speed. And then at the top of the hill, just get ready to get on the brakes. Try and keep it nice and tight to this apex. Be careful when you get on the throttle, because if you're too early, you go onto that gravel and you hit the barrier. But yeah, doing it all quite nice there. Now into this corner, you have to again be quite careful on the throttle, give it a little lift, get the rotation, and then into this corner, brake nice and early, down to second gear, and be careful you don't run wide on this corner. You'll remember a lot of the time at this track, in this layout, if you run wide there, you can pick up a 3-second penalty and 2.5-second penalty for not really extending. It's just a very weird glitch on this track. But we got the slipstream to P1. Can we go for a move? We're going to go to the right hand side of the track and just try and see if we can compromise his entry, give him space on the left obviously, and he manages to hold on to that quite well, and we all get through there reasonably well, and we've broke the slipstream. You can see we've got no cars behind us in the slipstream. P3 has actually lost that slip. But like I was saying before, since I've got this new wheel, the Fanatec GT DD Pro, it does seem to be a lot better in rotating cars. It feels like you get more grip out of them, even though you don't. I think it's the force feedback from the direct drive wheel. It seems to really be helping me out in terms of the feel I'm getting from the car and what's going on with the car. But you can see we're getting very close to P1 in that Supra. Can we go for a move here? We're a little bit too far back to really send one there, so just sticking behind him and then just trying to get a good exit off this corner. And maybe if you can get a really good exit there, you can go for a move here. This is an overtaking opportunity into this corner if you can get a good exit off the corner and get yourself on the inside line. But again, working our way through there, and again into this final corner. This corner is a really, I wouldn't really personally risk overtakes in this corner. It's a bit too risky. I tend not to do it because you just both lose time. So yeah, just keeping the normal line, get on the throttle as early as you can. Now the FT1 does have a little bit of a weird moment there because it's in between gears. Probably better to get into third gear a little bit early, but we managed to hold it there. And now we've got the slipstream to P1. He's going to go to the right and then back to the left, obviously trying to break the slipstream. We're going to stay to the right because we're too far back to really go for a move. So we're just going to take the normal line into this corner. Now just make sure you brake here quite early because you don't want to brake too late for that corner and run wide onto the grass on the left-hand side. It's very important to get the braking right for that corner. But into this long right-hand corner again, a little lift off the throttle, then back on the throttle, and then just brake just before you get to the corner stage of the first part of the corner there. And just try and take it nice and smooth through there. Into this braking zone, I like to brake a little bit early, get it down into second gear, skim the apex of that curb and get on the throttle nice and early. You see we've actually got quite a good exit there, and we're going to possibly be able to go for a move for P1 in this race. So right up behind the Supra now, we're going to go to the right hand side of the track because we've got a run on him, and we're going to see if we can go around the outside. So braking really late here, down into second gear, use that long gearing of the FT1, and we actually managed to go all the way around the outside of the Supra. Some good racing there, and then hit our braking spot and nice and early on the apex, and we've managed to get ourselves in the lead of this race. Good exit there, nearly lost control, but managed to catch it and keep the power down. And now into the final section of the track again. This is single file pretty much, and just try and get your braking point. And again, we go a little bit weird into the corner, a little bit deep, and again, the rear goes a little bit loose. You can see he's going to have the run on us now, so we're going to go to the right, then back to the left to try and break that slipstream. And then we're going to stay to the left-hand side to cover our inside line. You can see now he's got the slipstream, he's going to go to the right. We go to the right ever so slightly just to give ourselves obviously a line into the corner. I'm not sure if he was trying to bump draft me then, or I'm not too sure whether he just wasn't expecting us to go a little bit to the right, but we have to because you can't stay all the way to the wall, all the way on that corner. But yeah, we managed to hold on to P1. And from this position, we actually started, once we had a bit of a gap, we were able to actually drive pretty nice now. So again, through here, we pushed a little bit further on in the race, and you can see that we've started to build the lead up. You can see the only thing here, we made a little bit of a mistake there on the throttle and on the braking zone, which gave the car behind a little bit of momentum getting close to us. But again, into this right hand corner, trying to keep it close to apex, and we actually hooked that up quite nicely early on the throttle, and you can see the gap going up to half a second there. Now into this final section, we actually managed to do it pretty well on this lap. You can see down to third gear, get it on the curb, down to second gear, and then onto the throttle nice and early, and keep it smooth on the exit. Much better exit there. You can see we didn't bog down with the rear sliding. Now, we were on a really good lap at this stage. You can see on the final lap, I was on a very, very strong lap. We broke the slipstream, and we were pulling away. You can see we're going through here, purple, 2 temps up. Also, with the lap that we did a 19.8 on, was a 19.8 or a 99 or whatever it was, wasn't a very good last sector. So if we could hook this up, which we're doing quite well at the moment, it would be probably a 94 or something like that. But as we come into the final sector again, we just skim the curb here and then get onto the gravel slightly and then lose the rear. Luckily, we don't lose control. We managed to keep the car on the track, and we managed to hold on to the lead still with a 1 second lead. So luckily, we still actually go over the line with the fastest lap of the race, which wasn't actually that fast. But we'll take that and the win. And yeah, quite an enjoyable combination actually. I think that one might be quite fun this week. We might do a few of them, but main race of the week is Daily Race C. This is one that I like doing. Longer race. It's in Group 4. It's at Catalunya. Now this race again has got that really weird situation where you have to pit, but you do not change the tyres. So yeah, this week make sure you don't forget to do this, because go in the pits, but don't change the tyres. Most cars can do this. You don't really need to change the tyres at all. So starting this race, we're starting right behind Mehdi there in front of us. And this is going to be a hard race. He's obviously in the 86. Now, the 86 is another car that I said that should be quite good there. I think the BMW M4 will also be very strong at this combination, along with a few other cars like the Lamborghini, the Subaru, the Evo, the Mazda. They should all be pretty strong. Along with, I think this track actually might suit quite a few different cars. There might be quite a number. I think the Mustang can do well here. The Ferrari probably can do well. The 86, the Megane, the Alpha 4C might even be able to do quite well here if you can really push the limits through the corners. But at the moment, we're right behind Mehdi now. And in this race, there was no point really battling with Mehdi because we're going to both be on a similar strategy. So my aim here now is to work with Mehdi as much as we can, really. And just not fight, because we're going to probably pit early in this race to see if we can jump some cars, because that is probably going to be the best strategy. Now, the only thing you've got to be aware is other cars might pit early, so you've got to be very cautious. If you see a gap appear in front of you, you might as well go one extra lap and try and get an overcut, because like I say, no one's going to be changing tyres. So through here, you can see we're just giving ourselves the line into the corner. Toyota 86 seems strong through. It doesn't seem quite as strong as some corners as the Megane, but it seems like it's got a bit more straight line speed than the Megane, so it's pretty equal, I'd say, between these two cars at this combo. Now Mehdi goes for a move up the inside, and I decide to follow Mehdi through, just make sure that that Mustang can't tuck him behind him, and we managed to take that position. So quite a tactical overtake there, just following Mehdi through and up into P16. So we're going to come up to the final chicane now. This again is the tricky part of the track. This is always very tricky to get right, and the Megane is probably a little bit more unstable than the Toyota 86 through here, because obviously it's an MR. But over the curb, again over the curb, and I see Mehdi's going in the pits, so again I'm going to go in the pits with him. I'm going to follow him and just try and do the same strategy as him, because if we can work together, use a bit of his slipstream, we know he's one of the fastest drivers on the game, we'll just take his slipstream, and yeah, there's no point fighting him. Like I say, if you do this strategy, one thing I do advise is don't be fighting with the other car, because if you start fighting with the car in front of you, if I start battling him into this corner, like I could have been right up behind him, but I decided to go straight to left and just make sure he knows that I'm not going to try and overtake, because if you start overtaking and battling on your outlap at this stage of the race on lap 2, you're just losing time to the people that are doing the overcut strategy. So you can see, fast forward in the action, I'm not going to go for any overtakes. I'm just going to stay behind him. Again, Mehdi's driving fast anyway, so at this point we really can't go for much of an overtake. But you see, we're getting quite close here, and again, we're not going to send it. We're just going to stay pretty static, just follow him through and onto the straight. Again, we got the slipstream, but again, we flashed him to let him know that we're not going to go for an overtake. We stay to the left hand side, and he knows that now. Because we flashed him and stayed to left, he knows that we're not going to send it up the inside. So you can see, again, we're just going to stay behind him. Now, we could have easily have sent that there, but there was no point, because if we do, all that happens is we both lose a lot of time. So yeah, just tucking in behind him now and just trying to keep it nice and smooth. And you can see we're actually catching up to some other cars. Now, we actually caught up to this McGann up ahead, who's picked up a penalty. And however, through here, I made a little bit of a mistake as we go over the curb. You can see onto the final part of the curb, and the rear went a little bit loose, and we didn't get the exit speed. You can see Mehdi got really good exit speed there, and this is going to be frustrating because he's going to probably get past that McGann. So let's have a little look now. So it looks like he's actually going to let Mehdi pass. So it looks like he lifts and actually lets him through here. And I thought at one stage he might be doing it to us because he looks like he backs out there. However, he's not going to let us through. We have a little look up the inside, and yeah, he's not going to do that. So fair play. I think he was just letting Mehdi through there just to pick up his slipstream, which is probably not a bad thing to do, really. But unfortunately for us, this means Mehdi is going to now get away from our slip. We're going to try and go for a wider line through this corner and get better exit and see if we can then go for a move into the braking zone, which we've managed to do here. We've got a nice exit. So again, we're going to go for a little bit of a dive up here. We're only a tenth behind him, and we got the inside line, and that's a nice overtake, keeping it tight to the apex and up into P16. So you can see now that Mehdi has managed to break that slipstream, and he is now about 9/10 ahead, nearly a second ahead. And as we come through here, don't get the best exit off this corner. You can see a little bit weak off the corner, and now we're into this section where the McGann's actually quite strong through some of these corners. So into here, down to third gear, trying to get it onto the curb and on the throttle as early as we can. I had a bit of a moment though in the middle of the corner. You can see we lost a tenth there. Had a little bit of a snap of oversteer. But into this right hand corner, this is where the McGann, like I say, is a little bit stronger than the 86, I think. You can see we actually gained back on Mehdi there, half a tenth. And then into the braking zone, this is another part of the track where I think the McGann might be slightly stronger than the 86, because on throttle here, the McGann seems to be able to put the power down a little bit better. Maybe the gearing's better. So yeah, we gain a little half a tenth there, and then into this whole final sector, apart from the chicane, I think the McGann is very strong, but the McGann is very tricky on the chicane. It goes a little bit loose. But as we come through here, you can see we're still around 9/10 behind Mehdi, over the curb there, trying to make sure we brake just before that board above our head, and then really make sure you attack the curbs here. This is how you gain the time on this track. The final sector, there is probably 2 or 3 tenths to gain if you're just really aggressive and you hook it up. So yeah, you can really push the limits through there and get some real good lap times and gain some times on other drivers. So over the line to start lap 5, and we can see there's a car coming out the pits now. We need to try and make sure we get ahead of him. Are we going to do that? No. It looks like Mehdi is going to get ahead. However, we're not going to manage to get past him. So that's another driver in a McGann. And if we watch here, he's got the slipstream to Mehdi, so we're just going to try and get into the slipstream of P14 and then see if we can get past him as soon as possible. However, the problem is this driver in front is not slow, and he's actually able to stay in Mehdi's slipstream for a bit here. He looks like he's managing to hang with him. But into the braking zone, you can see we're very late on the brakes. They're gaining all the time on that corner. And now through here, trying to keep it nice and smooth as we start the next lap, and we're over the line. Now, as we come down the main straight, we see another car coming up the pits, a Subaru. And this time we have got past that Subaru. That was important, because if we get stuck behind the Subaru, it could be really annoying, because the Subaru's got very good traction. And it's a little bit faster on the straights. So luckily, we managed to get through him. Now, at this point, this is a real hard situation, because we've got the Subaru behind us in our slipstream, so we can't afford to battle too much with the McGann. So what I decided to do is play it pretty safe. I'm not going to go for any overtakes. You can see I'm just going to stick behind him and just try and see if we can break the slipstream to that Subaru. So not really making any dive, just keeping it on the track. And again, into this corner, you see not going for any sort of dive, just keeping it nice and smooth onto the apex and on the throttle as early as we can. You can see the gap to the Subaru is around 6/10 behind us there. It does struggle out of some of the corners, but again, on that final chicane, the Subaru is very good because it's got 4-wheel drive, so it can really attack them curbs. So we've got to be trying to build up that gap before we get there. So again, onto the curb, braking just before that board, again trying to keep it nice and smooth. And it does look like the McGann might be losing that slipstream to Mehdi up ahead. And you can see that we nearly broke the slipstream to the Subaru. However, he has just about kept in it. But at this point, we're a little bit closer to the slipstream of P8, so we should have a little bit more pull towards him. You can see that Subaru isn't gaining massively down the straight because he's only just in the slipstream. But again, We managed to get past another car coming out the pits. That's going to be important. And into the braking zone. So we're up into P9 now. So again, we could have gone for a bit of a send there, but again, we're not. It's no point risking it. We want to build up that slipstream. Sorry, build up the gap to the car behind, and see if we can get the gap to 1 second, and then we can consider going for a move on P8. But again, as we come through here, you're going to see down his third gear, and on the exit here, he runs a little bit wide. And again, I'm not sure if he's going to pick up a penalty for that. Let's just keep an eye on it. Does he pick up a penalty for that running wide, or is it through here? As we come through here, he runs a wide again, and that is definitely going to be a penalty. He's definitely run wide there, and I think he's going to get half a second penalty, which he does. So again, could have gone for a move here. I have a little look, but there's no point really losing too much time, because if we start bringing the other cars into this battle, that's just going to mean more chance that we're going to have more cars fighting for more positions. So you can see Mehdi's starting to pull away at this point now, because we're getting a little bit held up by P8. P8, although not slow, I think you've just a couple of attempts off pace. So again, we got the slipstream, and I thought, you know, we're going to have to try and go past him here, because otherwise Mehdi is gone. But as we try and go around the outside, he just holds the inside line. Perfectly fair defence. We're stuck behind him. But for now, there's not much point in battling. I decided just wait for him to take the penalty, and we'll get him when he takes that, which we did, and straight back past him there. So up into P8. You can see Mehdi nearly 3 seconds ahead though at this point, and not really much chance of catching Mehdi back up. So we're just going to concentrate now on seeing if we can get past, see if we can break the slip to the cars behind. So again, through here, keep it nice and smooth on that throttle in third gear, and again into this last sector, downshift to third gear, get it onto the curb, and just feather the throttle through here. Brake just before the board, over the curb, and just try and get a really good exit. Early upshift to third gear to try and stabilise the car, and we did that quite nice there, and we've managed to get a bit of a gap. So we're going to try and break that slipstream, you see, moving left to right, and then we've got a perfectly big enough gap. However, he goes for a bit of a random dive here, and that was never going to work. It actually cost him a bit of time, because he's compromised his exit and entry to the corners. So we eventually managed to break that slipstream. You can see we got the gap up to 8 tenths and started to pull away for the final lap. Now the final lap, you can see we're 2.8 seconds behind P4, and yeah, we got no one really behind us. We've got about an 8 tenths gap behind us, so we just got to try and keep it nice and smooth. So into the braking zone, down to third gear, onto the curb. We actually took too much curb there, lost a tenth or so. But yeah, through here, a little down as you come through it, upshift to fourth, then a little lift off the throttle, feather the throttle, and then back onto the throttle fully, and let the car run all the way to the outside of the track. And now again, you're going to be looking for your braking zone, which is the board above your head. Brake just short of this Gran Turismo board, and then downshift to third gear. Try and keep it nice and tight to the apex, and then get on that throttle as early as you can. Let the car just run a little bit to the outside of the track. Upshift to fourth gear, and now for this corner, you want to try and brake quite early. You don't want to be braking late into this corner, because you want to get it nice and close to the apex. Early upshift to third gear again. Get on that power. Use the curb on the right hand side. Take the shortest line here, straight line them much as possible, and then use the start of the curb on the right hand side as a braking reference down to third gear. Clip the apex, use a bit of the curb on the right hand side, keep the throttle down, and then for the throwing in point for this corner, I always use the exit, the end of that curb, just to throw the car in there in fourth gear. Use as much of the curb on the exit as possible, so straight the car up, and now into the next braking zone, which you can see there's a like yellow flag board, black board there on the right hand side, which I use, where the yellow and blue flags come out. Use that as your braking reference. And now up here, flat out through here, no lifting through this corner, but stay in third gear, let the car rotate, and then just get back on the power and try and carry as much speed on the exit as possible. Now into this corner, we're going to keep it in third, then back down, keep it in third, sorry, all the way through there, and just try and get it onto the curb as much as possible. Make sure you brake before that board, attack the curbs all the way over, and use some of the exit curb, but be careful you don't use too much there, because if you use a little bit too much, you can actually get a penalty. And we go over the line. Once we were in clean air with no one in front of us, you can see we actually do a reasonable lap of 53.1. Now, there was a mistake in that, so I do think we should be able to get 52.9s. So I think the pace was not bad. It was just we got held up a bit with traffic and stuff, but still a fairly good result. Gained 12 positions from 17th to P5, so an enjoyable little combination. We're going to have fun on that this week. I think that race would have been a little bit better if it would have had mediums and hard tyres, and you had a little bit higher tyre wear, but yeah, it's one of them races that they like to do with no tyre change, and it could be an interesting week. So yeah, quite fun racing this week. Daily Race A is entertaining, if a little risky. Daily Race B should be good fun, and Daily Race C is good fun. So hopefully we're going to have quite an entertaining week. So I'll see you for more live streams and more videos throughout the week. Thanks again for watching, everyone.